In this episode, we will cover the name and content of the Pentateuch. 1. The name. In his commentary to the Gospel of John, Origen gave the first 5 books of the Old Testament the name of Pentateuch, which, when translated from Greek, means 5 scrolls or books. The term has securely entered the Christian literature and biblical studies. In the Jewish Bible, the Pentateuch is called the Torah. The word Torah in the New Testament is usually translated as the law, the Greek nomos. Yet, one should keep in mind the notion of the Torah is wider than its legal or canonical counterparts. It implies instruction, an oral precept, or an exhortation. In addition to the commandments, laws, and statutes, the Pentateuch also contains historical sections. This historical inclusion, however, does not stand in contradiction to the name of the book. It was customary for the legislative founders of the ancient Near Eastern nations to frame legal and cultic instructions by narratives of historical nature. 2. The content. The Torah splits into 5 books while still preserving the integrity of a unified work. The division into the 5 parts, or books, likely had to do with the peculiarities of book production in ancient times. Scrolls that were too big were impractical to use. This would also be the reason that the book of Psalms was divided into 5 parts. Initially, the books of the Torah in the Hebrew Bible would be named in Hebrew according to their first words, or the first significant words. In the Greek translation, the books received different titles. These titles are the Book of Genesis, in Hebrew, BERESHIT, in the beginning. The Book of Genesis is the narrative about the origins of the world and humans, about the fall of humanity, the election of Abraham, and the making of the covenant with Abraham and with the other patriarchs of the people of God. The book tells of the life of Israel's ancestors and their migration to Egypt. The book lays the foundation of a believer, providing answers to the most essential questions about God, the origins and nature of human beings, the origins and essence of sin, the origins of the people of God, and the nature of faith. The title Genesis reflects well the content of the book, the origins and the meaning of the existing reality. The Book of Exodus, in Hebrew, SHEMOT, names. The Book of Exodus contains the story about the oppression of Israel by the Pharaoh, about the calling of the prophet Moses, his struggle with the Pharaoh and the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt, and about the wandering of the people of God towards Mount Sinai. The book sets forth the commandments and the laws of the covenant. It tells of the sin of the Israelites, who made a gold calf, and about the second granting of the tablets. The main idea of the book is the faith in God the Savior, manifesting His will in history. The Book of Leviticus, in Hebrew, VAYIKRA, and He called. The book contains liturgical regulations, as well as the rules for purification to keep the bodily and spiritual purity of the Old Testament community of faith. The main thought of the book of Leviticus can be expressed by the words, "Be holy, for I am holy." The Book of Numbers, in Hebrew, BAMIDBAR, in the desert. The book talks about the wanderings of the Israelites from Sinai to Kadesh, about the people's census, their hesitations and lack of faith during the wanderings, about the initial attempts to reach the Promised Land, and their sojourn in Kadesh, where their rebellion against Moses takes place. Their entry into Canaan is accompanied by military collisions with the kings of the local city-states. Balak, the king of Moab, tries to kill the Israelites with the help of the diviner Balaam, but the attempt fails. The territories behind Jordan are occupied by 2 of the Israelite tribes. The title of the book reflects the series of detailed census of the people, the individual tribes, priests, firstborn, etc. The narrative encompasses the events beginning from the preparations for the departure from Sinai up until the arrival in the plains of Moab across the Jordan from Jericho. The main idea of the book is the life of the people in the desert before the Creator and in private with Him. The Book of Deuteronomy, in Hebrew, DEVARIM, the words. The book mainly narrates the laws and the commandments of Moses that he reiterated along with the addition of the new ones not long before his death. Thus, a new commandment is given. A sanctuary to God must be a single location prescribed from above. The book ends with a song and blessing of Moses, and with the narrative about his death at the border separating western from eastern Canaan. The main content of the book is the reproduction of the historical and legislative material of the books of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, with an occasional inclusion of some new legislative elements. The book of Deuteronomy opens up to the new generation that was born in the desert, a retrospective view of the journey that the sons of Israel had made aiming to achieve the promised land, and the laws they received through Moses. In this way, the Pentateuch presents the history of the foundation of the Old Testament community of the faithful, alongside the narrative of their codes, laws, and statutes. Because of that, the Torah, as it were, is the basis of the entire Old Testament. The Pentateuch teaches about the wisdom, omnipotence, and goodness of the Creator, who, while encountering resistance, keeps calling His chosen people and reveals His will to them. He promises them a great future in His mysterious overarching plans. He tests the faith of those who have freely accepted His covenant. He keeps them in the midst of dangers and gives them the law of life. As a result of those tests, His people must become wholeheartedly dedicated to God and ready to serve His providential intentions. As a visible sign of the future, the people of God are given the Promised Land in possession. This Promised Land is later destined to become the land of salvation for all of humanity. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and share, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos.